I grew up in Fairhaven, a suburban princess from the tri-state area. Only child energy. The whole package. My adoptive parents raised me on money and warmth. Sweet smile, steel spine. I always knew how to set boundaries. The first day I moved back to my biological family's estate, the fake heiress, Sophia Hart, turned my room into a storage closet. Then she played the victim. "Lena, if you don't like it, I can move to the attic," Sophia said, her eyes already watering. I pressed a silk handkerchief to my nose and turned to the butler. "How much is this estate worth?" He blinked. "Around 20 million. I nodded and texted Thomas, my adoptive dad. "The living situation here is rough. Buy me the house next door." 30 minutes later, the neighbor, a lawyer, and a real estate agent walked through the door. Richard and Catherine Hart, my biological parents, turned green. "What are you doing?" Catherine demanded. "You just got here, and you want to live separately?" I smiled. "What's the alternative? Staying in the same house and draining my sanity?" Bennett, my biological brother, glared at me. "Don't you care about your family at all?" I slid my keycard across the table. "Sure I do. But I'm emotionally allergic to favoritism. Dysfunctional families require an appointment." Sophia burst into tears and called me materialistic. I nodded. "Absolutely. The way I was raised. Love yourself, love your money, and save very little love for people who don't deserve it." My name is Lena Whitmore. I grew up in Fairhaven. In my social circle, I was known as the ultimate only child from a wealthy suburban background. I wasn't some miserable adopted kid who spent her whole life begging for approval. My adoptive parents spoiled me the right way. They believed in giving me everything so I'd never have to shrink for anyone. When I was 5, a boy at preschool ripped my hair bow off. I didn't cry. I went home and wrote a 3-page complaint. The next day, his mom showed up with a new bow and an apology. When I was 8, an old neighbor said I was a nobody's child. My adoptive mom, Eleanor Vance, showed up at her door with a box of pastries and the sweetest smile you've ever seen. "Ma'am, bad manners are fine. A cease and desist letter will teach you how to speak." When I was 10, Thomas took me along to collect rent and taught me the first rule of life. "Sweetheart, you can make money slowly, but you never let anyone make you feel small overnight." So I learned early. If you can reason with people, reason. If you can't, bring out the contract. And if that doesn't work, call the lawyers. No drama. No self-doubt. When I was 20, the Hart family showed up. They said I was their biological daughter. A hospital mix-up at birth. Their butler sat in our small garden. Eleanor had just poured him a cup of Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee. He spoke carefully. "Ms. Whitmore, Mr. and Mrs. Hart hope you'll come home as soon as possible." Thomas was watering the hydrangeas. His hand slipped and he nearly soaked his own slippers. Eleanor set down her cup. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Home? She is home." The butler lowered his gaze. "I meant to her biological parents." I sat in my wicker chair, peeling a peach, and took my time. "Is their food any good?" He froze. I added very seriously, "Because if it's not, I'm not going. Girls like me have delicate standards. I don't waste my time on bad meals." Thomas sighed, then slipped a black Amex Centurion card into my bag, followed by a stack of papers. "Deed copies. Your trust fund statement. Our legal counsel's number. Anyone makes you uncomfortable, you call. I'm not afraid of a fight." Eleanor smoothed the hem of my dress and spoke more softly than usual. "Sweetheart, if their house isn't warm, come right back. A Vance kid doesn't beg to be loved." My nose stung a little, but I smiled. "Relax. I'm just going to see if their family love is worth the hype. If it's not up to standard, I'll return them on the spot." As the car pulled out of the old lane in Fairhaven, Eleanor stood at the gate and waved. The weather was perfect that day. White walls, dark roofs. Small boats drifting slowly along the creek. I thought to myself, no matter how much money the Harts had, they couldn't buy the last 20 years of my confidence. 2 hours later, the car stopped in front of the Hart estate. The butler opened my door. I looked up at the giant European fountain and the gaudy gold Roman columns. I stayed silent for 3 full seconds. "Did your interior decorator lose a fight with Versailles?" The butler's lip twitched. I carried my bag and walked inside. Before I even reached the living room, I heard it. A soft, delicate little cry. Dad, Mom, now that she's back, should I just leave? I froze mid-step. Well. There it was. The innocent act was brewing. But it didn't quite land. Not as clean as the Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee back home. For people sat in the living room. My biological parents, my biological brother, and the fake heiress the Harts had raised for 20 years, Sophia. Sophia wore a white dress and cried like she just stepped off the set of a soap opera. The second she saw me, she shot up, eyes all red, and called out, "Lena." I nodded. "Hey." She blinked. Like she hadn't expected me to be so calm. Catherine held Sophia's hand and looked at me with a complicated expression. "Lena, I'm glad you're back. But let me make something clear. Sophia isn't our biological daughter, but we've loved her for 20 years. I smiled. "I get it." Catherine let out a breath. Richard spoke up. "So don't come back thinking you're going to fight for a position. The Harts won't shortchange you. But you can't bully Sophia." I kept nodding. "Got it." Bennett frowned at me, his voice cold. "You better mean that. Sophia's health is fragile. She can't handle stress." Sophia looked down and said softly, "Bennett, don't talk to her like that. She just got here. It's okay if she's upset." Then she added, "If Lena wants my room, I can move to the attic." I finally looked at her. "Which room do you have?" Sophia's eyes lit up a little, like she'd been waiting for that exact line. "The one facing south on the second floor. It was supposed to be yours." Catherine immediately squeezed her hand. "Don't be ridiculous. That's your room." Bennett's voice went cold again. "Lena, don't start taking Sophia's things the second you walk in." I blinked. Did I say I wanted it? The room went quiet. Sophia bit her lip. "I just didn't want you to feel bad." I laughed. "Sophia, you're so good at feeling bad for other people in advance. Back in Fairhaven, they'd hire you as a tour guide. Tourists wouldn't even have to ask. You'd already tell them where to go." Bennett's face darkened. "Do you always have to come at me like that?" "Not really," I said, my voice totally sincere. "I'm just an only child from a wealthy suburban background. I know how to set boundaries." Then I added, "You guys keep acting out some soap opera in front of me. I don't understand the script. Maybe slow it down." Richard frowned. "Lena, you just got here. Don't rock the boat." I looked at them, all circling the wagons. I wasn't even that upset. I knew before I came, the Harts weren't welcoming a daughter. They were filling a position they could control. Too bad I wasn't that cooperative. The butler took me to see the room. Sophia followed the whole way. At the end of the hallway on the second floor, she pushed open a small door. Dust hit me in the face. Inside, old picture frames, broken lamps, a few cardboard boxes. The curtains were gray, you couldn't even tell what color they used to be. Sophia covered her mouth, looking apologetic. "Lena, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it wasn't cleaned yet. I can move out tonight. You can have my room." I glanced at the dirty bed frame, then turned to the butler. "This is what you prepared for your biological daughter?" The butler shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. and Mrs. Hart said for now." I held up a hand to stop him, pulled out my phone, and took a few pictures. Bennett smirked. "What, you're gonna post on Instagram pity points?" I looked up at him. "No. I'm sending these to my mom. Let her see the 1-star review for this luxury experience." Catherine hurried over, looking like she'd swallowed a lemon. "Lena, don't make a big deal out of nothing. The room can be cleaned. Sophia's already upset enough. Stop pushing her." I held her gaze. "Mrs. Hart, I haven't even said one word yet, and your whole family has already decided I'm guilty." Catherine froze. I smiled. "Efficient, I'll give you that. Not very smart, though." Bennett snapped. "Lena." I slowly tucked my phone back into my bag. "You don't have to shout. My hearing's fine. I'm just emotionally allergic to favoritism. Can't stand the bias. Can't stand the cluelessness." At dinner, the Harts laid out a whole spread. Looked expensive. Also looked cold. Sophia sat next to Catherine, all cozy, piling food onto her plate. Bennett sat on the other side, handing Sophia napkins every few minutes. He didn't look at me once. I didn't care. I picked up my fork and took a bite of fish. The second it hit my mouth, I went quiet. Richard noticed my expression. "Not to your liking." he asked flatly. Sophia said softly, Lena's probably more used to home cooking. This truffle pasta was made by our private chef. Maybe it's too fancy. I put down my fork. It's not too fancy. It's just bad. The table went dead silent. Catherine frowned. Lena, our chef, has been cooking for this family for over 10 years. No one has ever said his food is bad. That just means you've got no taste, I said, taking a sip of water. The pasta's overcooked. The sauce is too sweet. The acidity's all wrong. It sits on the surface like a failed family relationship. Looks dramatic, tastes like nothing. Bennett let out a snort. What do you know? You weren't even raised here. I turned to him. I was raised in the tri-state area, not in a cave. Is your understanding of the outside world really just two categories, the Harts and wilderness survival? Richard slammed his hand on the table. Enough. It's one meal. Do you have to start a fight? I set down my fork too, my voice calm. Mr. Hart, you're the ones who brought me here. You bring me back, don't give me a room, don't give me any respect, and then expect me to praise food that tastes terrible? Did you guys outsource your family reunion process to a gaslighting 101 seminar? Because none of this is how decent people behave. Catherine's face drained of color. Sophia's tears started falling again. Lena, is it because you hate me? Is that why you hate the food here too? I turned to her. Stop making everything about yourself. The food's bad because the chef messed up. You're dramatic because that's your thing. Two different issues. Sophia cried harder. Bennett shot to his feet. Lena, apologize to Sophia right now. I glanced at my phone to check the time. My bad. We only child from wealthy suburban backgrounds have a strict schedule. I don't handle low-quality emotional drama after 9 p.m. You. And another thing, I said, pointing at the table. Starting tomorrow, I'll arrange my own meals. I'll pay for them myself. Don't bother catering to me. And don't test my upbringing with food like this. Richard's face turned purple. What, you think the Harts are broke? I smiled. I hope you can. I'd hate for you to mooch off me. Just then a maid came over with dessert. She set a bowl in front of Sophia and said softly, Sophia, your favorite bird's nest soup. When she got to me, she put down a bowl of plain soup and gave me a slightly dismissive look. Lena, this is also very nourishing. I looked at the bowl. Why does she get bird's nest and I get plain soup? The maid paused, then smiled. Sophia has a weak constitution. Mrs. Hart specifically asked for it. Catherine looked uncomfortable. Lena, if you want some, we'll prepare it for you tomorrow. I nodded, then turned to the maid. What's your name? Marge. Marge, how many years have you worked for the Harts? 12. Good. I pulled out my phone. Send me a copy of your employment contract, your pay stubs, and all the purchase receipts. Marge's face changed. What are you trying to do? I gave her my sweetest smile. Nothing. I just want to see if someone who doles out food based on who she likes more really deserves 12 years of salary. Richard frowned. Lena, Marge has been with this family for a long time. Then she should know how to act with dignity, I said, looking at Marge. Decent people keep their accounts clean. Don't you think? Marge's gaze flickered away. Then Sophia jumped in. Lena, don't bully Marge. She works so hard taking care of me. Well. That just means I need to look harder. She works hard taking care of you, spends the Hart's money, and eats into my inheritance share. Bennett nearly choked on his water. Catherine stared at me in disbelief. Why is everything about money with you? I took a beat. Because so far, that's the only value you've shown me. The next morning my breakfast from Eleanor's table arrived right on time. Lobster ravioli, truffle pasta, honey-glazed brioche, and a warm cup of almond milk latte. The delivery woman wore a clean white shirt and smiled brightly. Lena, Eleanor said you probably didn't eat well last night. This should hold you over. She's sending the chef over for lunch. Sophia stood at the top of the stairs. She looked like she'd swallowed a bug. Bennett eyed the cart and sneered. You've been here one day and you're already putting on a show. You really think this is a hotel? I picked up a piece of lobster ravioli and took a bite. The juice was so good it actually improved my mood. Hotels at least ask if you're comfortable. Your place doesn't even come close. Richard came downstairs, his face darkened. Lena, what is this? Strangers coming and going. What's wrong with you? I swallowed my food. A normal person who was raised with actual love. I don't make myself small. Catherine looked at the fancy dishes on the cart, a complicated look on her face. Your adoptive parents always spoiled you like this? Yep, I said with a smile. That's why I'm stable and healthy. I don't need tears to feel seen. Sophia went pale. Catherine immediately had her back. Get off her back. I didn't bother explaining. After breakfast, I went upstairs to grab my bag. That's when I noticed a suitcase sitting outside the storage room door. Inside, a few cheap changes of clothes and a thin blanket. Marge stood nearby, her voice flat. Lena, I took care of your things. Mrs. Hart said you'll stay here for now. We'll figure something out in a few days. I looked at her. Who told you to touch my stuff? Marge frowned. I was trying to help. No good deed goes unpunished, I guess. I opened the suitcase. Inside, the clothes were a wrinkled mess. The folder I'd tucked in the side pocket had been opened. I smiled. That smile made Marge visibly nervous. What are you laughing at? Your amateur hour, I said, picking up the folder. Before you go through someone's luggage, maybe check the camera blind spots? Her face dropped instantly. Sophia hurried out of her room. Lena, stop terrorizing Marge. She was just trying to help you unpack. I nodded. Help by going through my files? Bennett walked over, his face icy. Lena, do you have to pick a fight every single day? I handed him the folder. Here. You tell me what she went through. Bennett opened it reluctantly. The next second his face went slack. Inside. A letter of attorney authorization, an asset list, and an offer to purchase the lot next to the Hart estate. Richard and Catherine hurried over at the noise. I took the folder back, my voice calm. Since the Harts don't have a proper room for me, I had my dad contact the neighbor last night. Catherine blinked. The neighbor? Yeah, I nodded. That house is cleaner than this one. Less tacky too. I'm buying it. For myself. Richard exploded. This is insane. You just got back to the Harts and now you want to move out? What will people think? I looked up at him. What will people think when they find out you shoved your biological daughter in a storage closet? Sophia's eyes welled up. Lena, is this still about my room? I can really move. Don't. I cut her off. You stay in yours. I'll buy mine. Kids from the tri-state area don't fight over things. We just buy them. Bennett snorted. Easy to say. You have any idea how much the house next door costs? Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. The butler hurried in, his expression strange. Sir, the neighbor is here. Plus a real estate agent and a lawyer. Richard's face fell. The living room door opened, and a group of people walked in. The woman at the front wore a dark green silk dress with a cashmere shawl over her shoulders. She was soft-spoken but owned the room. She didn't even glance at the Harts. She walked straight to me and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Sweetheart, did you sleep well last night? I shook my head. No. Too much dust. Eleanor's smile didn't quite reach her eyes anymore. Catherine spoke up, her voice stiff. And you are? Eleanor turned and placed a folder on the table. I'm Lena's mother. Richard frowned. Mrs. Vance, she's back with the Harts now. This kind of interference isn't exactly appropriate. Eleanor smiled gently. Mr. Hart, let's set appropriate aside for a second. The Hart Group has 3 loans coming due next quarter. The largest one, I'm the creditor. The room went dead silent. Eleanor's voice was soft. So today, I'm not just here to pick up my daughter. I'm also here to see if the Harts still have any intention of paying their debts. Richard's face looked worse than the failed truffle pasta from last night. What did you say? Eleanor sat down. Her lawyer started spreading documents across the table. 3 years ago, the Hart Group had a cash flow problem. You borrowed 2 sums through intermediaries. Later, you pledged equity in exchange for supply chain financing. Mr. Hart, you didn't really think that money fell from the sky, did you? Sweat beaded on Richard's forehead. Bennett's jaw went slack. Dad, I thought the company was stable? Richard didn't answer. Catherine gripped the back of the sofa, her voice shaky. Mrs. Vance, isn't this some kind of misunderstanding? Eleanor's smile stayed warm. No misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding was you thinking Lena would have nowhere to go if she left the Harts. I sat to the side drinking my coffee. Calm. I'd always known my adoptive parents had money, but they were so low-key about it. Thomas collected rent in his slippers. Eleanor baked pastries in her silk dresses. They looked like any normal wealthy family from Fairhaven. Then, on my 18th birthday, they gave me an entire portfolio of assets. I flipped through the first few pages. Not commercial properties. Not debt holdings either. Shares in companies I'd actually heard of. I asked Thomas back then, "How much money does this family actually have?" He said, "Not much. Just enough that you'll never have to beg for love." Turns out he was right. Sophia stood at the top of the stairs. Her face was pale. Panic flickered in her eyes. She probably never expected that the adopted daughter she looked down on wasn't standing on dirt. She was standing on an entire tri-state area asset chain. Richard tried to hold on to his dignity. "Mrs. Vance, business is business. Family is family." Eleanor nodded. "Of course. So I won't say much more today. I'll just ask one question. What exactly are your plans for my daughter?" Catherine's lips parted. Then Sophia came running down the stairs crying, "Mrs. Vance, this is all my fault. I shouldn't have taken Lena's room. I'll move out right now." She made a break for the door. Bennett grabbed her arm on instinct. "Sophia." I set down my coffee cup. "Sophia, you already pulled this stunt last night. Repeating a performance makes the audience tired." She stood there, tears on her face, looking at me like she was the victim. "Lena, I just wanted to make you feel better." "I'm not upset," I said with a smile. "I just think your game is weak. If you're going to play the pity card, at least avoid the cameras. Don't plan with Marge last night about going through my stuff and then act innocent today." Sophia's face changed instantly. Catherine froze. "What?" I handed her my phone. On the screen, the hallway security footage. Sophia's voice low, instructing Marge. "Take a look at that folder of hers. Get pictures if you can. There's no way an adopted daughter actually has money. She's faking it." Marge asked, "What if we get caught?" Sophia laughed coldly. "Then say you were helping her unpack. Mom and Dad and Bennett will buy it. They always believe me." The video ended. The living room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Bennett slowly let go of Sophia's hand. Catherine went white as a sheet. "Sophia, you..." Sophia panicked, shaking her head fast. "No, Mom, I just didn't want Lena to hate me. I didn't mean any harm." I looked at her. "No harm. Just harm that comes naturally." Richard sat on the couch, not saying a word for what felt like forever. Eleanor stood up. "Since the Harts haven't figured out how to respect Lena yet, she'll stay in the house I bought next door. As for the debt, I'll have legal reassess the Hart Group's ability to pay." Richard's head snapped up. "Mrs. Vance." Eleanor smiled politely. "Mr. Hart, relax. No one's biting. I'm not here to make things hard for you." She paused. Her voice was soft, but it hit like a punch to the gut. "I'm just here to tell you that my daughter is not without backup." I moved next door that same day. The Hart estate and my new place shared a garden wall. But the experience was night and day. Over at the Harts, it was daily family drama. At my place, fresh flowers showed up on time every day. The scent of candles changed with my mood, and afternoon tea came with warm, fresh-baked cookies. The first time Bennett knocked on my door, I was sitting in the yard soaking up the sun. He stood at the gate, looking uncomfortable. "Lena, Dad wants you to come home for dinner." I looked up. "Which home?" He choked. "The Harts." "Oh." I turned a page in my book. "No. Send me the menu first. If it looks bad, I'm not coming." Bennett's face went red. "Why do you have to be so difficult? I'm not one of your family's debtors. I don't have to follow your repayment schedule." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, his voice low, "About last night. I didn't know Sophia would do that." I looked at him. "You didn't know because you didn't want to know. You've got eyes. If you're not going to use them, donate them to a street light. At least they'd light up something." Bennett's face went red, then pale, then red again. But he didn't snap back like before. He said quietly, "I was awful to you before. I'm sorry. I closed my book. Apology accepted. Forgiveness is gonna take a number. How long's the wait? Depends on you. Bennett bit his lip. Can you do me a favor first? I raised an eyebrow. His ears turned red. At school, some guy is using the Hart family drama to make fun of Sophia. And me. I laughed out loud. Aren't you the Hart family's golden son? Bennett's face got even darker. It's Chad Winthrop. His dad's on the school board. He's had it in for me since day one. I stood up and brushed off my dress. Let's go. Bennett blinked. Go where? To school. I grabbed my bag. Kids from the tri-state area can fight each other. But we don't let outsiders laugh at us. You keep that dirty laundry inside the house. Got it. Bennett's eyes lit up. Then he asked quieter, what about Sophia? I looked up at the window on the second floor of the Hart house. Sophia was standing there watching us. Her expression was complicated. Bring her, I said. She's got her drama queen moments, sure. But she's still a Hart. If outsiders mess with her, that's an insult to my homecoming. That afternoon, the three of us went to Fairhaven Academy together. Chad Winthrop was standing by the field with a group of friends laughing. Well, well. The real heiress and the fake one. Bennett, your family's quite the circus. I hear your sister's a fraud, and your real sister won't even claim you. Sophia looked down, her face pale. Bennett's hands curled into fists, but he didn't say anything. I walked over, smiling. So you're Chad Winthrop? He gave me a once-over. And you are? The real heiress the Harts just found. Chad snorted. Oh, the adopted one. What's the matter? Didn't get a room at the mansion? Heard you're staying next door instead. The group around him burst out laughing. I nodded. Yeah, I bought the house next door. You want to try working for that too? Maybe you can buy yourself a parking spot before graduation. Chad Winthrop's face froze. A few of his friends stopped laughing. I pulled out my phone. By the way, I recorded everything you just said. Defamation, slander, harassment. My family's lawyers are bored. They'd love to play. Chad smirked. Who are you trying to scare? My dad's on the school board. Funny, I smiled. My adoptive mom just donated a whole science building to the school. Haven't named it yet. Maybe I'll call it the Chad Winthrop Legal Education Center. His face dropped. Bennett leaned in and whispered, For real? I glanced at him. No. Bennett nearly choked. I kept smiling. But the lawyers are real. The recording is real. And your big mouth is definitely real. Chad lost it. You're insane. I sent the recording to my lawyer, then looked up at him. Kids from the tri-state area don't curse people out. We let the grown-ups close the tab. That night, Chad's dad called Richard. Not to raise hell. To eat crow. When Richard hung up, the way he looked at me was complicated. Bennett was even more dramatic. He showed up at my door the next morning with a cup of coffee. Lena, this is for you. I glanced at it. Iced Americano? Isn't that what you like? I like hot lattes. Half sweet. Oat milk. I paused. Your research skills are like your people skills. Wrong direction but lots of effort. Bennett quietly took the coffee back. I'll get you another one. Sophia was standing behind him. She said softly, Lena, thank you for yesterday. She wasn't crying. That actually surprised me. I nodded. You're welcome. Just don't turn on the waterworks every 5 seconds. That'd be a good start. Sophia's cheeks went pink. I'll try. Not try. Do. I looked at her. You want to stay with the Harts? Fine. But don't treat me like you're not fighting you for scraps of affection. If I actually wanted to throw my hat in the ring, you wouldn't even make the cut. Sophia was quiet for a long time. Finally, she asked, voice low. Why don't you hate me? I thought about it. I do hate you. Her eyes went red instantly. I added, but hating you doesn't mean I want to waste my life on you. You're not the gardens at Fairhaven. I don't need to buy a ticket and stroll through you. Sophia blinked her tears back, completely speechless. Bennett was biting back a laugh. Halfway through, he saw me looking at him and straightened up fast. You're right. I narrowed my eyes. You've been acting weird lately. His ears turned red again. I just think you're more solid than I expected. Don't, I said, holding up a hand. Don't compliment me. It won't get me to write your apology letter for you. His face froze. How do you know about that? Chad got scared by the cease and desist letter yesterday. He definitely blamed you guys. The school wants a written statement, right? Bennett stared at me. How are you always 10 steps ahead? Because I have a brain. I patted his shoulder. You should try growing one too. From that day on, Bennett started following me around, learning how to set boundaries. Sophia started to drop her whole crybaby act too. The most ridiculous one though was Catherine. She sent me her first tentative text. Lena, do you want to come home for dinner tonight? Mom had the kitchen make your favorite truffle pasta. I stared at the word mom. It didn't do much to me, but the truffle pasta was tempting. So I wrote back, fine. If it's bad, I'm leaving. Catherine replied instantly. Okay. Mom will have the chef make it 3 times. I went back to the Harts for dinner that night. The atmosphere was strangely peaceful. Sophia put food on my plate. Lena, try this. I made sure the chef went light on the sugar. Bennett handed me my drink. Got your hot latte. Half sweet. Oat milk. Richard cleared his throat. Lena, the company has a supply chain meeting next week. You want to sit in? Catherine shot him a death glare. She just got here. And you're already putting her to work? Richard mumbled. I was just asking. I took a sip of my soup. Sure. Billable hours. Richard went silent. Sophia muttered under her breath. You really never take a loss, do you? I smiled. Suburban princesses like me? We're sweet, but we always do the math. The first time I met the Hart relatives was at Catherine's birthday party. The event was huge. A lot of people showed up. I wasn't going to go. Then Catherine texted me. Lena, I want you there. Not for appearances. I want to introduce you properly. I stared at that message for a long time. Finally, I changed into a light blue silk dress and went. At the party, Catherine held my arm and announced to everyone seriously. This is my daughter, Lena Hart. This time, she didn't say biological. And she didn't put Sophia first. Sophia stood nearby. Her expression was a little dim, but she didn't pull any stunts. I glanced at her. She said quietly, I'm okay. I nodded. Good. Your emotional management is improving. Her lip twitched. Thanks. I think. Right then, a woman dripping in jewelry walked over and linked her arm through Catherine's. Catherine, so this is the real daughter? Pretty face. But I hear she was raised outside the family, probably a little rough around the edges. Catherine's face changed. Marla, knock it off. I looked at the woman. And you are? She smiled. I'm your aunt. Marla Sloan. Oh. I nodded. Was that your welcome gift? Kind of low rent. Marla's face went stiff. Bennett nearly cracked up. Marla recovered quickly. Sharp tongue. I hear your adoptive parents are loaded. Since you're back with the Harts now, you should help our family, don't you think? Your cousin is starting a business. Needs startup capital. Nothing crazy. 800,000. I blinked. Come again. She smiled. 800,000. Your parents are rolling in it. Your adoptive parents do too. We're all family. Don't be so stingy. I turned to Catherine. Has she always borrowed like this? Catherine stayed silent. Richard's face darkened. Marla jumped in. Borrow? What kind of word is that? We're family. Talking about money ruins the relationship. I smiled. Not talking about it ruins my wallet. Marla frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means if you want to borrow money, fine. Sign a contract. Market interest rate. Put up collateral. Miss a payment, we go to court. If that's too much trouble, don't borrow. Marla laughed bitterly. I'm your elder. Being an elder isn't a zero-interest loan. I said slowly. If you really need money, go to a bank. If the bank won't tend to you, that means you don't qualify. If the Harts lent to you before, that means the Harts weren't thinking clearly. Marla's face went purple. Catherine, you're just going to let her talk to me like this? Catherine took a deep breath. I thought she'd play peacemaker like she always did. But she squeezed my hand. Her voice was shaking a little but firm. Marla, Lena's right. You need to pay back what you borrowed. Marla froze. Richard spoke up. That's $36,200,000. I had accounting draw up a statement. If you don't pay it back, we'll follow the contract. Marla's face twisted. Have you lost your mind? Then Sophia stepped forward and copied my tone. Aunt Marla, family is family. Money is money. Keep things clean. Bennett added, yeah. Stop treating relatives like ATMs. I looked at the two of them. My feelings were complicated. Oh no. The tri-state area boundaries were rubbing off on everyone. After the party ended, Catherine tugged me into the garden and sat with me for a long time. She said quietly, Lena, I used to think that with family you just tough it out. But then I realized the more I put up with it, the more everyone thought they could walk all over me. I looked at her. You figured it out. That's what matters. Her eyes got a little red. So what about you? Will you still have me as your mother? The wind blew through the garden. The lights caught the redness at the corners of her eyes. I didn't answer right off the bat. After a long time I said, Mrs. Hart, family isn't paperwork. You don't sign and get instant results. Her face fell. Then I added, but you can have a trial run. She froze. I smiled. Perform well during the trial period, and maybe you'll get the permanent position. Catherine blinked a few times. Then she started laughing through her tears. The Hart Group really fell apart a month later. The supply chain dried up overnight. Several major clients canceled their contracts at the same time, and the bank was hounding them for payments. Richard aged 10 years in one night. Bennett was pacing like crazy. Dad, how did this happen? Richard rubbed his temples. Someone's messing with us from behind the scenes. I sat on the couch flipping through documents. Not just someone. We've got a mole. Richard's head snapped up. How do you know? I spread out a few procurement contracts. These three have inflated prices and abnormal delivery timelines. The payment accounts all trace back to the same shell company. And the legal rep of that shell company? Connected to Marge's nephew. Catherine looked shocked. Marge. Sophia went pale. She told me the other day that you were going to destroy the Harts. I smiled. She got it backwards. She's the termite. I'm the exterminator. Richard's face turned purple. I'm calling the police. Not so fast, I said. Calling the police is too easy. The termite isn't alone. Bennett froze. Who else? I looked at Sophia. She instinctively stepped back. Lena, why are you looking at me? I really didn't. Not you, I cut her off. But someone used you. Sophia blinked. I handed her my phone. On it, the chat logs between Marla Sloan and Marge. Marla had been pushing Marge to steal contract information from the Harts. She'd also been contacting clients using Sophia's name, spreading rumors that the Harts were tearing each other apart over inheritance, and that the company was about to collapse. Sophia finished reading. Her face went white. She used my name? Yeah, I nodded. You used to play the victim all the time. Everyone felt sorry for you. So when she borrowed your act, people bought it. Sophia's lips trembled. I could see she was about to cry. Hold it in, I said. She choked her tears back hard. Bennett whispered. Sophia's come a long way. Sophia sniffled. Thanks. I kept flipping through the papers. 2 options. 1, call the police. Let the legal system handle it. 2, keep the client steady first. Then bait Marla and whoever's backing her out into the open. Richard looked at me. You have a plan? I nodded. I do. But I charge. Richard went quiet. Catherine quickly said, yes. Charge her. Absolutely. Bennett nodded too. Fair is fair. Sophia added, Lena doesn't take losses. That's how the Harts survive. I looked at all of them and couldn't help but laugh. Fine. You're teachable. For the next 3 days, I brought the Hart Group's key clients to Fairhaven. Not to a hotel. Not to a conference room. To Eleanor's table. The place was tasteful, intimate, and quietly elegant. Every single dish was so perfect it looked like it had been personally inspected. The clients came ready to cancel their contracts. After one meal, half of them had already softened. Thomas sat nearby, sipping his coffee with a smile. Gentlemen, the Hart Group does have management problems, but the supply chain isn't going to break, because half of their upstream channels are with me right now. Richard stared at him in shock. Thomas winked at me. I looked down and took a sip of my coffee. It finally clicked for Richard why Eleanor had been so calm when she said she was the biggest creditor. The Vances hadn't just swooped in. They'd already been in all the right places from the start. Marla thought she could tear a chunk out of the Harts while they were in chaos. What she didn't know was that the chunk she was after belonged to my adoptive parents. That night, Marla met with the head of a rival company at a private club. She smirked. The Harts are a complete mess right now. That real heiress might be sharp, but she's just a girl. The door to the private room burst open. I walked in. Behind me came my lawyer, Richard, Catherine, Bennett, and Sophia. I smiled at her. Aunt Marla, you can eat whatever you want. But contracts, those you don't steal. Your tab's up. Marla ended up getting hauled in for investigation. Marge was also charged with embezzlement and leaking corporate information. Once the dust settled on the Hart Group crisis, Richard apologized to me for the first time. For real. That day he sat in his study. His shoulders looked a little hunched. Lena, I was wrong before. I sat across from him and didn't say anything. He smiled bitterly. I kept telling myself that bringing you back, giving you money, giving you the Hart name was enough. But I forgot. Those are the things you need the least. I looked at the cold coffee on the table between us. My voice was calm. What I needed was for you to treat me like a daughter from day one. Not like a problem that needed to be placed somewhere. Richard's eyes turned red. Catherine stood in the doorway, tears falling. But she didn't rush to explain like she used to. Bennett said quietly, Lena, I'm sorry. I always thought Sophia was fragile, so I protected her first. But I finally see you do get hurt. You just don't let it control you. Sophia stepped forward too. Her voice was soft. I'm sorry too. I was so scared you'd come back and take everything, so I just kept playing the victim. But then I realized you were never interested in taking anything. The love you have? It's way more than anything I was pretending to have. I looked at all of them lining up to confess. I sighed. What, are you Harts running a BOGO on apologies now? Bennett blinked, then cracked up. Catherine laughed through her tears too. The mood finally lightened. I stood up. All right. We'll settle the past slowly. And we'll take the future one day at a time. Family isn't something you fix with one apology. But you're willing to learn. I'll think about continuing to teach you. Richard immediately nodded. I'll learn. I swear. Catherine wiped her tears. Me too. Bennett raised his hand. I already learned how to order a hot latte. Half sweet. Oat milk. Sophia said quietly. I learned how not to cry. I looked at her. She quickly added, at least most of the time. I couldn't help but laugh. After that, the whole vibe of the Harts changed completely. When relatives came to borrow money, Catherine would gently pull out a contract. Of course. Let's just talk about interest and collateral first. Keep things clean. When executives tried to talk in circles during meetings, Richard would frown and say, no more mental gymnastics. Just give me the data. When someone was passive-aggressive with Bennett, his first reaction wasn't to get mad. He'd pull out his phone and hit record. Say that again. My sister's legal team is pretty bored these days. Sophia took the cake though. She went from being a delicate little flower to a master of boundaries with a side of sass. Someone asked her, aren't you afraid the real heiress will take your place? She smiled and shot back. Take what? My sister's got her own house, her own money, her own lawyers. She doesn't want this rundown Hart spot. I'm just hitching my wagon to hers. Saves me 20 years of struggle. I heard that and nearly did a spit take. 6 months later, the Hart Group was back on its feet. Richard proposed officially adding me to the inheritance plan. I glanced at the document. Fine. But add one more thing. Richard looked nervous. What? Every major decision the Harts make goes through a forensic audit first. Then we talk about family. Richard was silent for 3 seconds. Then he nodded. Fair. Catherine smiled from the side. Lena, your parents are coming this weekend, right? I want to learn how to make honey-glazed brioche from Eleanor. I looked at her. I thought you didn't like to cook. She looked a little embarrassed. I want to learn. You like it? That weekend, Eleanor and Thomas came to the Harts' house. Thomas wore a casual shirt and carried 2 boxes of pastries. Eleanor was in her usual silk dress and shawl, soft and warm, but she had Richard and Catherine so nervous they looked like they were about to sit for the SATs. The two families sat at the same table. Richard raised his coffee cup and said to Eleanor and Thomas, dead serious, "Thank you for raising Lena so well." Eleanor glanced at me, her smile gentle. She was already wonderful. We just never let anyone make her feel small. I took a bite of honey-glazed brioche. Hit the spot perfectly. Then Catherine picked up a piece and put it on my plate. Her voice was a little careful. "Lena, try this one. I learned it from Eleanor." I took a bite. A little too sweet. The bread wasn't quite soft enough. But I saw the look in her eyes, hopeful, waiting. So I nodded. "Not bad. Less sugar next time." Catherine's eyes lit up. Bennett whispered. "Mom," Lena said, "not bad. That's basically a rave review." Sophia nodded like a bobblehead. "Right. If she doesn't say it's bad, that means she loves it." I shot them both a look. "You two are getting pretty good at interpreting me." Bennett grinned. "We learn from the best. Keep things clean. Say what you mean. Settle the score. Don't go to bed with a grudge." Sophia raised her glass. "To my sister, the suburban princess who cures all forms of messy." Catherine laughed and raised her glass too. Richard cleared his throat and added seriously, "And to Mr. and Mrs. Vance, thank you for giving Lena the best upbringing anyone could ask for." Thomas waved his hand, smiling ear to ear. Our upbringing was simple. Just one sentence. All eyes were on him. Thomas said slowly, "My girl? She doesn't beg for love." I blinked. Then I laughed. Outside the window was the Hart's newly renovated garden. The tacky fountain was gone. In its place, a small creek, stone pathways, and a few osmanthus trees. The wind blew. The scent of osmanthus was faint and sweet. I realized then that this place wasn't clean at first, but at least it could be fixed. As for me, I'm still that suburban princess. Sweet smile. Steel spine. Money. Home. Whoever loves me, I'll love them back twice as hard. Whoever makes me small, I'll return them on the spot. Life, after all, is all about keeping things clean.
This is Listening Novel. We appreciate you spending your time with us. If you enjoyed today's story, please like and subscribe for more stories, and stay tuned for what's next.